What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Out of the Basement. Today, we are doing our It 2017 review 2 years later.
2 whole years.
This is part of our series where we're going to be revisiting certain movies before, a related project comes out. We're going to see how the first movie holds up. We did this with Hereditary, which if you want to check that out, right up there. Leading into Midsummer, of course. I'm Nate. I'm joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And Steven.
Howdy.
And it has been a minute since it dropped. I remember the hype was insane when it first came out. There was... I want to almost say there was nothing like the hype. At least for a horror movie. For the general public, general audiences.
And then didn't it break records for rated R horror opening weekend?
I'm pretty sure it is the most successful R-rated horror movie, period. I think maybe if you adjust inflation, maybe it's still The Exorcist, but I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. But it was a big deal. Yeah,
I remember when I used to work at a movie theater, that was pretty unexpected. I mean, I expected it because I have a brain, but I remember a lot of people didn't really expect it to be busy, so it was a big disaster.
Yep.
Over that weekend, because clowns are kind of a big thing in horror pop culture. So even if you don't know what it is or have ever read the book, I feel like general fans of movies would still go to see it just because it's a scary clown,
right?
And it draws people's attention. So
yeah, and
People remember it.
Yeah.
They remember it.
They remember Tim Curry.
Yeah.
But, and I think it was exciting to see a readaptation because if we're all going to be honest here, and it's totally fine if you like It 1990, but I think personally, outside of Tim Curry's performance, the movie is pretty hard to watch.
I could agree with that.
It's got some pretty bad acting. And just poor storytelling in general. Yeah. But Tim Curry's performance is great. I love watching just a montage of all his clips from the movie, and I go, I don't have to sit through 3 hours of nonsense just to get 10, 15 minutes of good times.
I've never seen 1990. I've only seen the clip where Pennywise says, "Kiss me, fat boy," and that's fine. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's just...
I don't need to watch the rest.
It's just Tim Curry's an entertaining actor, so seeing him being a ridiculous, silly clown is just fun. And his jokes are, really stupid, but...
Try a bunch!
Yeah. Excuse me, sir. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do! Exactly. So it was nice to see that right off the bat, It 2017 was taking a much more serious approach, at least in terms of Pennywise. He's definitely much more menacing in 2017.
Right.
And I think that works out a lot. We were just talking about before we started filming, before Annabelle Creation, when we saw that in theaters and they play the opening Georgie scene. I just remember being so scared. And I was like, man, It 2017 is about to be a super scary movie.
Yeah, and I mean, it helps that when you're comparing it to the 1990 version, it's so dopey.
Yeah.
I feel that's a good way to describe the mini-series, since it's technically a mini-series. It's just incredibly dopey. It's like, damn, he's like, no, my boat!
Yeah.
It's just dopey. So, I mean, the fact that this is serious in tone makes it better.
Yeah, but of course, upon watching the movie, and we did a review way back in the day, which you could still watch on this channel, although I'd probably advise you not to.
Ooh, that was back when we didn't know anything.
Yeah, not really edited, just kind of thrown together, just our quick thoughts right after we see a movie, zero time to process it. Back in those days.
Yeah.
So let's just start talking about the movie. Of course, Steven wasn't in the original It review, and if some of you have stuck around that long, you know pretty much our opinion, although my opinion has changed slightly, and for the worse. So, Steve, what do you think of It 2017?
I think it's fine. I think it's a perfectly acceptable horror movie. It really doesn't do much for me. I did like watching it better on home video than in the theater because of all the jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I got to actually sit and enjoy it more instead of anticipating when the next big boom
Yeah.
is going to come and make me shit myself. So in that aspect, that was good. That was a positive. But otherwise, like I said, I haven't seen the 1990s one. I like other Stephen King stuff, but I've never really been too drawn to it. And I just don't really... It's fine. Like, I don't hate it. It's, like I said, it's, for what it is, a big budget, rebootish movie. I think it's pretty decent in that respect. I think it's pretty good. The acting's good. All the kids' performances are good. I really like Finn Wolfhard in the movie. I think he's my favorite aspect of the movie, period, with his jokes. My favorite being the beaver trapping joke he makes. I thought that was really funny. But overall, I just think it's fine. It's okay. I don't own it. I don't feel like I ever need to. And I can't ever see myself being like, you know what? I really want to watch It 2017 right now.
I definitely understand where you're coming from, because I also don't think I would own the movie, but I ended up running into the out-of-print 4K.
I was going to say, what?
Let me explain. I ran into the out-of-print 4K Steelbook for a very reasonable price, and I was just like... I found it at the same time as Blade Runner 2049, that super out-of-print Steelbook. Found them both at the same time, super cheap, and I was just like, I'm never going to have an opportunity like this again, and it's cool art. And I liked the movie enough, so I bought it. But that was this past time we watched it. That was my third time watching the movie, and yeah, I would definitely say like I'm kind of leaning more towards like it's not as good as it was when I first saw it or the second time I watched it. It's still a pretty awesome movie, but there's just a lot of things that bother me now that I don't think really bothered me then.
I think if this movie came out 10 to 15-ish years earlier, I would have loved it. I would probably be gushing over it right now. I just feel that now that I'm old and sour and beaten down by life, I just
Old grandpa
it doesn't really do much for me. Just like I'll mention Stranger Things, like I don't care about Stranger Things. Like I've watched it. Does nothing for me, and I get a little bit of the Stranger Things vibe from It 2017 just because there's an ensemble kid cast
and Finn Wolfhard.
Yeah, and it takes place in the 80s. Except It 2017 doesn't beat you over the head with
there's not
1980s.
9-year-old kids with Evil Dead and The Thing posters.
That's why I feel like I said, if it would have came out years ago and I was younger, I probably would have really loved it. Not saying I don't like
that is true. I feel like it's, even though it's a rated R movie and it's pretty intense at some points, I feel like it is almost like a movie you should watch when you're younger, and you'd probably end up enjoying it a lot more.
Like seriously, no joke, without the swearing and some of the sexual innuendo with Beverly and her dad, kids horror movie.
Yeah, Mike.
I mean, some of the gore, obviously, like not ripping...
Yeah,
ripping Georgie's arm off.
I definitely understand what you mean by that, though.
Yeah.
So, Jrick, I think you're the one that enjoys the movie the most out of all of us. And
yeah, I thought me and you were on the same wavelength.
We were until this watch I just had, where I was just kind of like, man, like I still enjoy it. Like we said, it's still a good time. I still like the movie, but it's just not as good as I thought it was the first and second time I saw it, where I was like, man, like what a massive improvement over It 1990. And I mean, it still is.
Yeah.
It still is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to explain. It's just kind of like, it's...
I think It 2017 is a fantastic film. I think, I don't think of it so much as a horror, though, because it's definitely a horror film, obviously, but I look at it more of, as an adventure film.
Yeah.
And that's kind of more so what it feels like to me.
Like an R-rated Goonies or something.
Yeah. Something like that. I just get such a sense of adventure from the movie. And, I mean, there are some creepy moments, but I wouldn't necessarily call it scary.
Yeah.
There are some disturbing things, mainly the opening scene. And I also look at it more as, more of a character piece. I feel like all of the characters, which obviously it's hard to balance like so many different characters, Suicide Squad. But movies like this that each character kind of gets, I mean, there are some who get a lot more than others, but I do feel like almost everyone gets like their time to shine as well.
Except Mike.
But the thing with Mike is that on my rewatch, I was like, Mike actually has like backstory, and who doesn't is Richie.
Yeah,
like Richie gets absolutely no backstory. I mean, he has way more lines of dialogue and scenes, but I was like, Mike actually has some backstory. At least.
And them taking away the historian angle from Mike and giving that to Ben too.
True, but I had never read the book, so I wouldn't have noticed something like that.
I mean, it's like that in the miniseries too.
You think I remember the miniseries?
I don't know.
No,
but
but yeah, it's for me. It's more of a character piece, and like I don't know. I just get such a sense of adventure, and I'm a big fan of the story of what it is in It 2017. I haven't read the book, but I'm still a pretty big. It's a very interesting story to me, so I highly enjoy it. I think it also has kind of a good soundtrack, especially like the opening scene.
Yeah, that is
Georgie.
True. The
Anthrax song.
Yeah, true. The Anthrax
for like 22
song.
seconds.
But I mean, you are right. The cinematography is pretty awesome throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Especially the opening shot for the title card, like when the camera's like twisting and then it sort of flies out and comes up.
And there's a lot of cool like bird's eye shots in the movie, like when Ben is running in the river. There's like that really nice bird's eye shot, and then there's like an overhead shot that probably one of my favorite ones when Georgie like falls back and his arm is gone. And you see like the hand coming out of the sewer. I was like, ooh!
Yeah, that is a little creepy. And that scene is, like you said, Steven, the best part of the movie. And it's unfortunate that it's the opening.
It is unfortunate, but at the same time, like what an amazing cold open. Like
yeah, it's definitely, like we said when we saw it before Annabelle Creation. I was just like, oh my god, this movie's going to be intense. And I mean, the rest of the movie I don't think ever lives up to how intense the opening scene is, but still, it's just like...
And I do have respect for that scene too, like, violence on children is kind of controversial.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a sensitive topic, so the fact that they were willing to go that far and like actually showing the arm is off, it's bleeding, there's like blood everywhere, he's like screaming and he gets pulled into the sewer.
And you actually see Pennywise bite the arm too.
Yeah.
You see those.
And especially compared to the 90s version, which I've already said, dopey. So.
Yeah. And the movie is pretty funny too. I typically, I think we're all on the same page where like, there's a fine line of kid acting. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, it's really annoying, especially when kids are trying to be funny in movies. I feel like this movie... Richie, obviously Finn Wolfhard, like you said, great performance, super funny. Yeah. I think Eddie is hilarious because he's sort of like, the character that's afraid of everything, and he has so many funny moments.
I think everyone's pretty good.
Yeah,
across the board.
Yeah, some great child acting. Yeah. Really, really impressive.
And like, I don't remember. Was there like some people saying like, "Why are they cussing so much?" Or like, you remember anything like that? Because like.
Realistic.
It adds to the realism, and I think it's very relatable in that sense. Like, just
people that said that probably had a little bit of a sheltered upbringing. Maybe didn't go to public school.
Yeah, the amount of cursing that is in the movie done by these children is just so realistic and relatable. Because you remember being at that age when you first start cussing, and it's like an addiction. It's like you just can't get enough.
And when you're that age, you think it's really cool to start cussing, and because you get to do it with your friends, but then you gotta
just like when you find out about giving people the middle finger, and you're like, oh, what an insult!
Best thing ever.
Like you think about it now as an adult, and you're like, that's so stupid. You're just like raising one of your fingers at someone.
Oh yeah, of course. But when you're a kid, cussing is awesome. And cussing with the boys.
Yep. Dude, on the playground in elementary school, you're standing there, you're all posted up. You just got done playing Dragon Ball Z, and you're cussing with your friends about some stupid shit. And the movie also has pretty good pacing. How do you feel about the pacing of the movie, Steve? Because it's a little over 2 hours, which is kind of long for a horror movie.
I thought it was a lot better this watch. Whereas in the theater, I was just like, ugh. Like, I was ready for it to end because I wasn't that enamored with it. And then, again, the waiting for the every 2 seconds of jumping because my eardrums just exploded from the speakers. So this time around, it was a lot more pleasant of a watch, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the pacing is pretty good. I think the movie flies by. Yeah. Obviously, just over 2 hours is not the longest movie in existence, but it's long, like you said, for a horror, which is usually just like wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wait, but like, I think the epic conclusion is kind of pretty short.
Yeah.
They kind of just beat his ass a little bit.
Yeah, that's. It's like the whole movie. You think Pennywise is obviously he's a super powerful sort of cosmic being, and then he just kind of gets beat up at the end of the movie and runs away.
Yeah, because he does get less powerful if you're not afraid.
Right.
I guess, which I do think they could have done a little better of a job at showing that.
Because you really only get that part with Bev.
Yeah.
Like right at the end too, when she's like, "I'm not afraid of you," and he's like struggling to do anything to her.
Right.
But that only literally happens at the very end of the movie. Yeah, it's not really established.
I think
before.
the ending is kind of like a little. I'm still satisfied with it. I still really like the movie, but I do think the conclusion is kind of just like wrap it up, like a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the ending at all. I don't we just said before we started filming. I guess the crab thing is a homage to something from the 90s series, but I just think it's so just like hokey. It's very kiddish. Like I said, remove the swearing, some of the gore. It's just a kid's horror movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, I'm just like the CGI always takes me out of it.
There is some cartooning, and we'll get in that when we get to the negatives.
And Pennywise definitely spends a lot of time, just similar to the original 1990 miniseries, where he has plenty of time to kill everyone or kill anyone, but he likes daddling around.
Well, he feeds on the fear, so I think he gets because like with that scene with Eddie in the well house that I really love when he's like pretending that he's gonna bite his arm, he's like like mocking him. I just think he gets like pleasure out of scaring, so that's why he doesn't instantly
definitely. But there's
go in for the kill.
There's other moments, like in the final showdown, he probably could have killed someone, but obviously they're not gonna kill a kid like that. And
well, none of them die in the book.
Right, and none of them die in the book, so they got to grow up to be adults. And so in that way, too, there's kind of no stakes to the movie. If you know the story or if you've seen the 1990 movie.
You could say that about pretty much anything based off a book, though.
Well, it's true, but it's...
depending on how...
Yeah, it's based on if you're familiar with the material, though, is what I'm saying. Mm. So, like, once you've seen this movie a few times, it's kind of just like... You know they're all going to be safe at the end because you've already seen the movie or you already know the story. So for me, it kind of takes away. Like I said, this watch really, really lacked the impact that the first two watches had on me. So I guess let's talk about some of the things we didn't really care for. I wouldn't say hate, but just didn't care for.
Yeah, I would say a negative for me is that obviously I think all of us at Out of the Basement are a big fan of practicality and practical effects, and you can use CGI and make something super cool and impactful, like something like in Annihilation with the Mimic. But like in a movie like this where you have an actor playing Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård, that's pretty much what I'm getting to, is I wish we could have had a tad bit more Pennywise just in general sprinkled throughout the whole film, but also more Bill Skarsgård in the makeup, in the clown outfit.
Yeah. Just
a little more of that instead of like CGI scares, such as Bucky, you were talking about the projector scene.
Oh yeah, it's a really good scene, and then when he finally just like actually comes out,
it's like a fun house.
Yeah, and he's like a giant, and it's just like completely takes me out of it. I'm just like, this is something out of Goosebumps, which is, Goosebumps is fine, but this is...
Yeah. Same thing with, like, the painting lady when she first shows up, and it's, like, 100% CG. They could have easily made that a costume.
You know what that reminds me of is the Crooked Man.
I
don't know why.
It
but
is
for some reason. It's just.
I could totally see that. See something like that being in The Conjuring, like. I mean, obviously,
or like Valak.
Because Valak is a painting that comes to life. So she's like a combination of the Crooked Man and Valak mixed into one.
Because she's the side villain, kind of that is focusing on the Jewish kid. What's his name? Stan. So I mean, I get why she's there. She has a purpose. It's clear. That's his fear. Like he doesn't like that painting. So Pennywise is. That's what he's
right. And they definitely do a better job, like. Showing that Pennywise isn't always a clown in this movie, that the clown is just one of his forms, and to you he shows like what you're afraid of most, and that's kind of like why he appears the way he does, which I did appreciate them doing that a lot better in this movie, because it kind of barely it happens in the original, but it's not like, I don't know, it's different, so yeah, we could have used some more Pennywise, though. Bill Skarsgård, because obviously him as Pennywise is dope.
Yeah, and I've heard they do use more CGI in the new one, but I've also heard that there's more Bill Skarsgård. I've heard this is the most Skarsgård we've seen Pennywise, and then I've also heard this one has more CG. So which one is it? Who knows? But there is that awesome shot in the official trailer where he's like peeling away and he's like laughing, and then it turns into like screaming.
Yeah,
I was like, ooh.
I hope that scene is going to be super creepy.
Yeah,
give us a little bit of backstory,
because there was like a deleted scene about like Pennywise in the old like colonial times or something like that.
Oh yeah,
it had to do with like
a
baby or something.
Yeah, he eats a baby, I think, something like that. Kills a baby, eats it.
Which like that would have been interesting to see. Like
wasn't
Pennywise in colonial times.
Wasn't there a rumored director's cut of this? And then it never came to fruition?
Yeah, that's why we held off on buying the Blu-ray at first. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because there was supposed to. I'm pretty sure they announced that.
And it just never came out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess don't quote us on that.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Worth looking into.
Yeah. Another thing that J-Rick, I know you don't really agree with this, but Bucky and I are on the same page. Too many jump scares in this movie, man. Like,
but it's not like we weren't expecting there to be like, it played straight, because of course this is the big budget, big popcorn horror movie. Of course it's going to be littered with jump scares, but don't like them.
Yeah. Plenty of fake out jump scares early in the movie, and then it just gets to Pennywise just doing tons and tons of jump scares, and it's fine on a home viewing, because with my sound bar, the sound is all level. It's not, one thing is not louder than the other, so...
That could be a possible culprit from my experience, although I don't have a sound bar. I just did not notice really a lot of jump scares, especially fake out. I don't remember any fake out jump scares, I don't think. Maybe in the context like of being in a movie theater where everything is just super freaking loud. Yeah. Maybe, but I've watched it on Blu-ray a few times now, and I've never noticed like, oh my god, another jump scare. Like I don't even know if I could give you an example.
I think that you can.
Where are the what are the jump scares? Remind me. I'm like drawing a blank. I'm trying to remember.
I honestly am also drawing a blank. But they happened because Steven and I were just talking about them.
Because we would, every time, like, we would pinpoint one, we were like, man, in the movie theater, that would have been like, poof.
It's the timing. You know it's a jump scare because of the timing of the scene and how it's made to sort of end with that final bang or final boom. But I mean, even with the Pennywise stuff, like him jumping out of the coffin, the balloon popping, and him being right there and then going, it's like...
And of course, the first, like, Georgie thing, when he's in Bill's basement.
Yeah.
Does the infamous... I love that.
I just wish there was more scenes where Pennywise...
I don't think that's a jump scare, though. He just runs at him.
It's definitely a jump scare when he starts, because he's not moving at first, and then the full sprint is like the big pop.
Because it builds up. It builds up and like, you'll float too, and then...
I think I just don't consider that an offensive jump scare. Like something.
Well, you're wrong, and that's fine.
Like the mirror closes, and then I open it again, and then I close the mirror. And there it is, boom! And it's not like a cat jumping out. Like what movie was that? Oh, Poltergeist, 3D.
No.
Like, it's not like a friend. Like, oh, hey, dude.
Yeah.
Hey! So there might be jump scares, but I just don't find these specific ones offensive like I do in other films.
And that's fine. We can agree to disagree. One thing, though, that also really bothers me is the like face tracking on Pennywise when he's running, and the camera is like, it seriously looks like face tracking, like it's a meme or something.
I guess I wasn't paying that close of attention.
Yeah, to me it just looks like that, and it's weird. We could have just got some normal shots, and it still would have been pretty scary. And that's another negative, that the movie's just in general light on horror. Like you said at the beginning of this video, it's not really a horror movie, which is unfortunate because it obviously is or should be a horror movie.
I think it just depends on what scares you, because obviously, like, you just become that age where you're not afraid of monsters, like physical monsters. Like, nobody's afraid of monsters. I think, like, what scares me personally in a movie is more so like entity related,
Spooky ghosts.
yeah, like something like The Conjuring. Is it like the thought of someone becoming possessed by like things that we can't see? I think like the more sort of like paranormal stuff scares me in a film, other than like scary clown monster, when something's physically there, you know, like Jason or like a killer's trying to come after you. Like, that's not scary to me. It's just, I mean, it's entertaining, of course. Like, I enjoy that stuff, but it doesn't scare me. But I still, like I said earlier, I look at it more of like an adventure film and like a character piece. So I still really enjoy it, even though it does get cartoony, and like nothing in the movie really scares me.
Like we were saying, light on the horror, not a very scary movie, and there's not really any other, you know, there's barely any tension like I mentioned earlier. So while it is a fun movie and it's definitely belongs in the horror umbrella,
Right.
it's just kind of like,
Yeah. Which, that doesn't take it away anything from me personally at all. I mean, some people get like super mad when something is like a genre, like the It Follows. Like, that wasn't scary. Like, okay, it wasn't supposed to be scary. Just because it's called horror on IMDb doesn't mean you're going to be horrified.
there's many different
Different things scare different people.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes it's just horror for the sake of horror. You know, you think of movies like Reanimator, not scary at all, but horror movies nonetheless.
Yeah, it is a horror movie, but it's, you know, completely goofy and
Sleepwalkers.
Yeah, there you go.
Great example. I mean, no one really likes that movie. I love it, but it's not even a little bit scary.
Yeah,
but it's horror.
So, let's do our final thoughts here. J-Rick, why don't you go ahead and wrap up your thoughts for It 2017?
Like I said, I do love the movie, and I don't find it scary, but that's okay. That like isn't a negative for me that I don't find it scary, because like I've said, I think of it more as like I just get a sense of adventure from watching it, and I just look at it as more of like a character piece, and I like the cinematography and the soundtrack and the acting, and I enjoy the story, even though I don't find it particularly horrifying. I mean, I do have negatives, such as, you know, a little too much CG heavy, and there's some like goofy parts, especially after some parts being super dark and like menacing, and then it kind of goes like goofy funhouse Pennywise.
Or the lighthearted montage scenes of them like cleaning the bathroom to The Cure.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I really do like it. I enjoy it.
All right, Steve? How'd you feel this time around?
Well, like I said when we first started, it's
I
fine.
just don't think it interests you. I just don't think you're interested in the story.
Well, yes and no, because this one, again, it doesn't really do too much for me. I don't think it's a bad movie. It was perfectly fine. Can't ever see myself going out of my way to watch it. But with all that said, the trailers for part 2 do interest me. It does pique my interest a little bit, you know. Great cast. I think the cast helps sell it for me a lot because I like everybody involved. Bill Hader, James McAvoy. Love me some McAvoy.
Jessica Chastain.
So, yeah, and that little teaser bit, where Jessica Chastain's visiting
the creepy grandma.
Yeah. So, I am going to watch part 2. I hope I like it. But I think you are right. I don't think it's just something... I love the schlock. I just really like you just heard me say I love Sleepwalkers. and then I'm feeling pretty meh on that. And there's probably people out there that would scream heresy at me, which is completely fine. I understand why they would do that. But I love the Reanimators and the stuff that's just goofy and
Stuart Gordon, Brian Yuzna Productions.
Oh.
So basically, you should watch the 1990 It. Basically, what we're getting at. If you like the schlock.
I wouldn't.
Maybe I'll watch it
I mean, I wouldn't equate it to like Reanimator, but in terms of Bunt, I think you should watch it. I think you should.
It's not high on my priority list.
We'll see what happens.
I'll probably watch it someday.
And yeah, I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I used to, but I'm not quite to where Bucky is, where he's just kind of like flatlined about it. But I think it's a solid film. Will I ever really maybe think about watching it in the future? Maybe in a year or two from now. I couldn't see myself revisiting it anytime soon.
Right, it's not a movie you'd watch all the time.
Yeah, it's not a movie you're just like, man, I'm just gonna pop it on real quick. I don't think it's one of those movies, at least for me. But I still do enjoy it, and while it definitely has plenty of negatives, I ultimately think the positives outweigh it. And it's still a good time 2 years later.
There you have it, folks.
There you go. So if you enjoyed this review, leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new. Let us know what you think of this series. Are you digging it? Should we keep going? Or should we just start our movie podcast?
Or should we just do more movie reviews in general?
Yes.
Because we're gonna,
because we want to get back into it, like we've been saying for months, and I think we're inching towards it. We're inching.
It's the only way to get big on YouTube. We got to ditch the figs. Just kidding.
Never ditch the figs.
I mean, maybe one day.
But anyways, share this video with your friends, whoever, your mom, your dad.
Tell him some guy said he prefers Sleepwalkers over It 2017. And tell him to...
And they'll say, I gotta check these guys out.
Yes.
I gotta leave a dislike. Oh!
So, of course, what do you think of It 2017? Let's talk about the movie in the comments down below. Of course, I'm Nate. I've been joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And Steven.
Take care.
And we will see you guys next time on Out of the Basement.